So I have to say, with this week's episode of My Isekai Life, I was expecting some master-level assassin plotline, the way they were presented in the previous episode's cliffhanger. They seemed pretty competent. But I love the fact that instead of getting like a master level assassin plot in the way that I was expecting, where these two could potentially be the final boss, instead we got Jesse and James shenanigans from Team Rocket as Yuuji kind of casually bullies Best Boy, who I was referred to in the comment section in last week's video as a bus, because essentially what Proud Wolf does is carry slimes. To see not only how he turned a once proud wolf into just easily his little traveling companion, as seen in the backstory, to then casually healing these boars so that these goons would think that he's weak, and Proud Wolf just continues to get beat up because of it. This episode had me rolling, man. It was unexpectedly pretty hilarious. The one thing that I saw a lot of even before watching this episode, I saw some people on Twitter, I saw just even some comments surrounding the episode in general, was that apparently it was a very rough-looking episode. So throughout watching this episode, I was waiting for the big moment that would make me go, damn, they really messed up here. And while there's no denying the fact that there's a lot of reused shots, the dramatic shot of Proud Wolf where the water erupts and he's so proud looking, to a lot of the individual looking scenes, or there's a moment where a good minute, 2 minutes are them just weirdly animated, their faces are stretched and just they're wait, is he strong? Is he weak? But here's the thing with this episode was goofy. It was meant to be almost a Pokemon Team Rocket style goof trap, and I have to say, it didn't bother me with the reuse of animation. It was generally pretty funny. To me, the stuff that bothered me the most is actually the first couple of minutes when they were looking in on Yugi and you were just looking at trees or some of the more just boring looking shots. So, while I don't think there's any denying the fact that this was probably the episode that struggled the most up to this point in this series, the fact that it was a funnier, focused episode, to me, the reuse of animation and just the fact that clearly they had some fun with the dramatic pose of something or someone thinking they're very strong, and then in return they are kind of getting their asses handed to them. And even that moment when the two goons, the two assassins, are basically oh shit, is he actually strong? He summoned a sword from thin air, what's going on? To me, that just kind of added a level of comedy I wasn't quite expecting. Not saying that it wasn't because the episode struggled. Without a doubt, this episode did struggle. If you look at it from a technical standpoint, you can see where corners were cut, the reason they did certain things. What I'm saying is those cutting of corners actually made it more unexpectedly funny for me, but that's just how I feel anyway. And I love this show, man. I love Yuuji at this point. I think he has a dry sense of humor, but anyone who says he doesn't have a personality, I think definitely overlooked the multiple points where the dude cracks me the hell up. One of my favorite points in this episode, there's kind of two big moments that really made me laugh at what he was doing. The biggest one for me was actually when he decided to say shit man, I'm actually probably buffing up these boars a little too much. I don't really know my own strength, so I'll buff up Proud Wolf so it's a more even looking fight. And then Proud Wolf being Proud Wolf, you know what, I forgot who I was. I'm going to do this all on my own 2 feet basically, or 4 feet I guess I should say. And Yuuji just has this very simple remark being no, you don't. He just is very disappointed because he realizes that bro, you gonna get killed because I'm buffing these things just because I'm trying to make it look like I'm a generic-ass monster tamer. And it really cracked me up. I love the fact that he was just so, broken about that, being bro, I'm literally trying to save your life so we can have a normal-looking fight. You don't understand what's going on here, you absolute lunatic. But I think one of the very close second moments for me was the 2 moments, or 3 moments, I guess, because he goes drinking at a bar. He basically looks like he's poor as shit, can't even afford food at a stall, and then he also gets swept away by this monster kind of crafter who basically makes armor for monsters, and he just looks like an absolute loser from a distance. And I love the reason for that is he's trying to make himself look like he's not worthy of being on the hit list. He doesn't want to take these people out because then that would probably send more people after him. I think it would actually work in his favor because he got removed from the hit list and then they kind of got frozen and potentially blasted off to who knows where. So probably they're not going to immediately go looking after him, but he's going to get back on that list before the season's over, and he'll probably end up fighting the big boss. The thing that's really cool about what they're doing right now with the end goal of this season is right now the next mission is he's going to a volcano, we get teased with the monster, he's probably going to have to defeat that for some items, because his slimes are literally so powerful, he has no armor that's made for them. So he can make armor, but he needs the materials. So we're going to do that. There's probably going to be a couple other things that will happen throughout the episodes. And then most likely the final opponent he'll fight will be like the head person who's responsible for that weird cultist assassin-like activity, because very much it seems like that's all connected. And I think that's going to be a pretty good stopping point, all things considered, for a show that's turned out to be quite fun, a lot more fun than I initially anticipated. And for an episode that probably struggled more than most episodes airing this week, I honestly thought they did a good job of making it a more comedy-focused episode, a more like dramatic shot, you know, the classic shonen techniques of reusing that classic, like, okay, here we go, it's their big victory pose, but you know damn well Proud Wolf isn't really doing anything all that impressive, but bless his heart for thinking so. For me, it was just a really fun episode because of that, and it's not often I can say the shortcuts that a team used to get around having to animate an extra amount of shots or detail something in the way they did. I have to hand it to them with how they were able to make this story really goofy in the way that, without a doubt, exaggerated more than the source material did. There's no way you have moments where, like, you were looking for 2 minutes at their faces going wonky and stuff. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, there's definitely some weird shots, like, when they're just, like, in the bushes and, like, nothing's happening. There's definitely some boring cutting corners, but if you take, I think, 75% of this episode in terms of what they were doing to avoid having to animate something new, or they were reusing shots, or just, you know, wasn't detailed as much as you're expecting, I think for the most part, it actually aided in the goofy Team Rocket level comedy, with like 25% of the shots in the earlier portions of the episode when it's not really as funny, but more so just the setup. It's kind of like, yeah, this is boring, but it's not the end of the world, but that's just me. I understand that a lot of people who decide to watch the show don't like it as much as me, and that's perfectly fine, but I love the charm of this show. I love the slimes. I love seeing Proud Wolf not just be a bus, as he's been referred to in my comment section. He actually did hold his own, even though it was a little goofy, all things considered. And I like Yuji's personality and how he's kind of like opening up a little more throughout the episodes. He has a dry sense of humor, which I can relate to. And just the fact that, you know, he's just surrounded by such a bunch of goofballs that he could easily one-shot so many people, but he's just trying his damnedest to just live a normal, casual life, and is thrown thicker into just the absolute deepest pool of conspiracy and stupidity combined. Based on where I think the rest of the season is going to go, from building of the monster armor to probably having one other story that will pop up to then probably ending on the assassin plotline, I think they got a good formation for a 12, 13 episode season that you could ever ask for a show like this. And honestly, I think the show turned out slightly better than I was initially hoping after its first couple of episodes premiered, and really, you can't ask for any more than that if you're thinking it's fine or good and, you know, it surpasses at the very least that. That means you had a fun time in an anime season. That's all you can really ask for. But thoughts down below. What did you think of this episode? A lot to talk about, in my opinion, from comedy, production, and where you think the end goal of the season will go. So if you have any thoughts, do let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.